And so I'm going to close tonight with a little talk more about this, and I'm going to just sit down my show notes here. I'm going to open up my nicotine lozenges and pull one out and pop it in. There we go. And just talk a little bit. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I felt like I wanted to tell the story about the supposed rift between me and the MGTOW community. And I guess the best way to start that out is to let you know that there never was one. To explain that, let me just give you the story. I started writing on men going their own way and used that term, 9 years ago now? Maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And this was before it was the much more well-known phenomena that it is now. I was talking about men going their own way, and I always knew that for a men's movement to transpire, that men were going to have to check out of the normal, predictable, modern zeitgeist and start forming their own worldview and start marching to a different drummer and go a different direction, i.e., go their own way. And started out writing about that, and I've never quit. And I watched as that some other people, Barbarossa and a few others, helped popularize that notion a lot more. And I'm still like, more power to them, popularize the notion. But, with growth, and you know what they say, unchecked growth is cancer. With the growth of popularity of MGTOW, I saw a phenomena happening on the internet that, it isn't like it disrupted my daily life, but it was worth mentioning. And that was the development of ideology in the MGTOW, what I call the MGTOW community, because here, let's get this all, it's such a really fucked up mess. There is no MGTOW community. There's a lot of guys out there that identify as men going their own way. There's a shit ton of guys going their own way that never even heard the term MGTOW, never heard the red pill, never heard of men's rights or any of this stuff. A lot of guys have just simply checked out. There's that movement in Japan, if you want to call it a movement, the Soshoku Dansi, if I pronounce that right, which I'm sure I probably didn't, but the grass eaters, you know who I'm talking about. And a lot of these guys never heard of us. There is a pendulum swing in men going on. And I have written and advocated for pushing toward a decade now on promoting that idea, promoting the idea that men would just sit down, look in the fucking mirror, and ask themselves what they want to be, and take a look at what the world was telling them they were supposed to be and what they had to be, and take a listen to what women were saying that men had to be if they wanted to get their way in between those legs, right, and get some of that vajayjay. Here's what we need. And to look at all that and say, you know what, fuck this. I think I'll just shoot for something else, like my own control over my own life. I'm a big fan of that and always has been. But what I started seeing on the YouTube community anyway was a lot of guys saying, well, men are supposed to be this, men are supposed to be that, and especially MGTOW are supposed to be this and that. And if you do this, you can't be MGTOW. And if you do that, basically most of them just reduce the meaning of MGTOW down to being a bachelor, which I've thought like, okay, big whoop. I mean, I don't know if I never heard of a community of bachelors, a loose brotherhood maybe. But the whole idea that you could take a concept of going your own way and turn it into, well, here, let me tell you what your own way is. It just seems fucking brain dead to me. Missing the point and crazy. And since I do write on this and have written on this and have been advocating for this for a long time, what I did was said, well, I want to see. My impression was, and I'd heard from other people too, that they were beginning to act like fringers, that a lot of these guys were beginning to really get, out there with their theories and with controlling the narrative about what MGTOW meant. And I saw that, and I know other people saw it. So I decided in my own way, which is what I'm prone to do. I figured I've been writing on this, a long time. I've earned my way into the discussion about it. And of course, even though my end of the discussion is to say your own way is entirely up to you, that it can't be up to anybody else, or it's not your own way, which I think is just basic common sense. I decided to see, and one of the ways you can tell if people are crazy is to take a look at how they react to dissent. So I made a video, and notice I was careful with my words. I'll try to dig it out and link it in the low bar, but some of you are probably familiar with it. I made a video in which I said, it was not up to me to decide if a married guy could call himself MGTOW. And guess what? It's not. That's not my choice. That's his choice. Now, whether I think he's actually a MGTOW, different story. But it's not, nobody elected me Pope of what MGTOWs call themselves. And that's what I was pointing at an objection to, was that there was a whole bunch of self-appointed popes running around, like Sandman, like Razorblade Candy, and to some extent Barbarossa, and a few others, John the Other and his crazy cunt bitch wife, Diana Davison, telling people this is what a MGTOW is, and this is, by God, how you're going to do it, or you're not one of us. Like a self-respecting MGTOW. How would a real self-respecting MGTOW respond to somebody saying, either you do it this way or you're not one of us? Well, of course, for some people, the answer to that question, and I know that's the answer, my answer to that question, is go fuck yourself. Who elected you Pope? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to see just how far this has gone. So I made a video in which I asserted not that married men were MGTOW. That's not what I said. What I said was that I wasn't going to take on the authority to decide for anybody else what a MGTOW was. And Lord, good grief. You think if you looked at that borderline video and looked at the borderlines that came in when I started talking about borderlines, I mean by the dozens, railing, screeching, going crazy. Holy fuck. I had a guy make a video burning an AVFM shirt. I had the biggest reaction of fucking crazy that I've seen in a long time. Totally affirming everything I believe. Totally affirming my point of view on this. We had a contingent of guys out there who had just gone off the deep fucking end, who were not satisfied, which, at least in my opinion, one good way to go is to be satisfied with your own life. Be the MGTOW that clears the garbage out of your own life and sets an example, maybe if you want to, but that doesn't set yourself up as an arbiter for all other people about how they're supposed to live. And I mean, the butt hurt coming out of this, and I guess this was a group of maybe 40, 50 guys tops. It wasn't that many. And I know that there were guys who didn't necessarily disagree with what I said, but thought it was an unnecessary provocation. I'll give them that. I mean, I don't agree with them especially, but at least I see that there being some reason in that. But oh man, I mean, it got to this absolutely insane level. And of course, me being who I am, I doubled down a couple of times. It's like, man, you think you're going to bully me into shutting up? Well, they don't have enough MGTOWs out there to bully me into shutting up. And they certainly don't have enough self-appointed dictators of what MGTOWs defined as to bully me into shutting up. And you had people like JTO out there. Part of one of my videos was an extended finger to the radicalized fringe MGTOWs that thought they were in charge of everything I had to say. And that was clearly in the video of who I directed that extended middle finger to. And he cut the clip out and put it out there on the internet saying that I was sending that to all MGTOW. And so it was actions like that kind of disingenuous bunk, and a few other people that turned into Paul turned on MGTOW. Paul never turned on MGTOW. Paul actually played a fairly instrumental role in helping to popularize the mentality, and I still stand behind it. And we still have a whole troop of MGTOW writers and volunteers and editors at A Voice for Men, and that are a regular part of my life, that are as MGTOW as you can possibly be, at least as far as I'm allowed to define it. And there's no problem. It was a pissing match that came down to me versus a few dozen guys that were really intent on turning it into some sort of fucking crusade. And I'll maintain, and if nobody likes it, that's fine, but I'll maintain a lot of these guys that were the most upset were also what I call the perpetually going their own way. Or else they're guys like that stand on the exit sign and scream at the world, I'm going my own way. I'm really going my own way. You better stop me because I'm going. I'm never coming back. And then when nobody answers, or when they say, yeah, well, okay, go have a good life, they say, oh, I'm really leaving. You better stop me. You better get me to come back. And that's what I saw in that crowd, and still do in that crowd. I saw somebody pinged me recently, one of the AVFM people pinged me with some Sandman video, which I listened to about as long as I took. I made it about 3 minutes into it and heard what the guy was referring to. First of all, I'm just going to be honest. That fucking monotone, I can't listen to it. I got to get the TLDR on Sandman videos, because that fucking droning monotone of stuff that is never more than superficially deep drives me nuts. And he was railing on about something about what if I came there and stole intellectual property. I mean, it's something out of the fucking, I haven't even listened to this guy's videos at all in a long time. Not that I even listened that much to begin with. But, what if Paul Elam did this or just some crazy shit. Like, I can't produce original content. And if I were going to steal content, I would steal it from Sandman, who actually told me at one point that he started doing these videos because of my work. But apparently when I poked a stick at the hornet's nest of ideologues that have come to be some of the squeakiest wheels on YouTube, they didn't like it very much. So anyway, that is my side. I mean, there's all sides to a story. These guys got their side. They can make whatever case they want. I don't care. I have not spoken of this stuff for a long time.